What's up? My name is Eric Butler. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back, and from Fox 5 New York City's migrants selling food in Subway. So first of all, they're using the term migrant, which is better than asylum seeker, which is what Mayor Eric Adams is demanding you call them, even though 99 times out of 100, this has nothing to do with seeking asylum. They showed up at the southern border and were loaded onto a bus and sent to New York. But you can call them whatever it is you want. And secondly, they are apparently allowed to sell food in the subway. It wasn't that long ago. We had a story of another person, migrant or not, I'm not sure. And of course, we don't know when you use the term migrant, whether they showed up legally or illegally. That's part of the point. But this woman was arrested, I think, for selling mangoes or something on the subway platform. So now they're not cracking down on that anymore, apparently. The description says, as more migrants arrive in New York City, many are trying to make a living however they can in the Big Apple. Fox 5 New York spoke with Elvia Ciaza, a migrant who arrived from Ecuador 3 months ago, who is now selling churros in the city's subway, about her story. So she arrived from Ecuador 3 months ago. Now, I don't know, I'm no geography whiz, but don't you have to go through some other countries to get to the United States? So clearly she's not really seeking asylum. But let's see how they are going to explain this new phenomenon of migrants selling food in the subway.
As more migrants arrive in New York, we want to go beyond the headlines and highlight some of the personal stories of those who made the long and dangerous journey to the...
Of course, so they want to, and I'm not going to sit here and say there's anything wrong with this, but they are trying to humanize and soften this up as though the first thing these people did coming into the country wasn't break a law. And it's very obvious, and I've said this for a really long time, but how do we expect these people to break out of the cycle that this corrupt establishment government has put them in? They're given houses, they're given food, right? They have a place for their kids to stay. They're having babies at some of these hotels, at some of these migrant crisis centers or whatever it is. How on earth do you expect them to get out of any of that, right? To rent an apartment for an American from, say, California, to rent an apartment in New York, you got to make 40 times the rent. You have to have proof of ID, you have proof of employment, tax returns, everything outside of a full rectal examination just to rent a crappy little place in a violent neighborhood of Brooklyn with a view of a barbed wire fence. But these people get everything for free, and now they are allowed to hawk their goods on the subway, even though when they were in the hotel, well, they still are in the hotel, but it wasn't that long ago as well, that they were caught throwing out the food that was given to them because they wanted the food of their native land. And obviously you should have stayed in your native land if you missed the food that much. But I digress. Let's move on.
U.S.
And tonight we introduce you to a woman who came here from Ecuador and is now trying to make a living selling churros in the subway. Fox 5's Christine Russo has her story.
So, okay, good on her. At least she's trying. But you don't just show up here unannounced and then get a free pass to do whatever it is you want, right? So I think if a regular American started doing this, they might be arrested fairly quickly. But I don't know. There's really no crime in New York City or all of California for that matter anymore.
Selling churros and water bottles, Elvia Ciaza says everything she does is for her two sons.
Yo puedo ganar el día unos $100.
I can make $100 or sometimes $120 a day. She came here from Ecuador 3 months ago, making the journey like so many other recently arrived migrants, mostly on foot.
So many other recently arrived migrants, and they are going to completely erase the fact that these people showed up unannounced and illegal. They just throw that out the window. It's not even part of the conversation anymore.
Selling churros, she says, is her way of getting by in the city.
$5.
But some days, she only makes enough to break even.
El churro me cuesta $1, pero yo le doy a $2 porque el azúcar.
The churros cost me about $1, and I charge $2 because of the sugar, which I add myself, so sometimes I don't bring home much money. On a hot Friday, she sells as much as she can before the daily afternoon police sweeps.
Llego a las 12, a la 1 del día y paso hasta las 9, hasta las 10.
I get here at 2, and then sometimes I stay past 11 until I finish selling everything. Other vendors coming by to give her the heads up that a few officers were on their way. The fines, I'm told, are $100, often more than many make in a day. This afternoon, we saw police
Okay, so at least they are being fair in these sweeps. But it's also kind of funny how they're framing this as though, once again, this person is the victim. Oh, the cops are coming. She only just wants a better life for her family. Did you really think for one split second that selling churros in the subway was going to get you by in New York City? I guess maybe it can, because everything else is going to be handed to you. You can live in a hotel and drink Coronas and Heinekens all day with your... where's the dad? I don't know. That's a completely separate question. But they try to frame this as though, well, the cops are coming and she's just trying to feed her family and they want it to stop. Well, look, you guys created this monster. Now you have to deal with it.
confiscate one vendor's entire cart. Times Square has often been a hub for unlicensed vendors. While it's a ubiquitous image of city life, it is still prohibited by the New York City Transit Rules of Conduct.
Pero dando gracias a Dios me siento.
Yeah, but why not, right? I showed up here illegally. Nobody's going to mention that. So why can't I sell churros in the subway illegally? Nobody's going to mention that either. In fact, they are going to be the ones who are considered the villains, right? For trying to stop what I'm doing illegally. And it makes perfect sense because you set them up. You said you can come here illegally and we're not going to do anything about it. So why would we do anything about anything else you do that's illegal?
Muy contenta para poder aquí trabajar y salir en adelante con mis hijos.
But thanks to God, I feel really happy to be able to work and continue moving forward with my sons.
She thanks God. All right, fair enough. But it's like, dude, you have immediately broken a minimum of 2 laws. And you still want to be able to be called the victim. And she's not even speaking English. So doesn't even, like, maybe you should go back to your hotel room, work on your resume, and download one of those language learning apps, speak the language, get a resume, get an ID. Or you know what? I take that all back. Go home and come back the legal way. That's what I meant to say.
More than 70,000 asylum seekers have arrived in New York City over the last year.
And there it is, asylum seekers. They get their talking points from up on high. These are not asylum seekers, right? They're all coming from, what's happening in several different countries that these people are all seeking asylum from? It's nothing more than sugar-coated language to manipulate morons.
Recently, Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul have requested the Biden administration help expedite the process for asylum seekers to get their legal working permits. In Times Square, Christine Russo, Fox 5.
Okay, this is absolutely despicable. These people, they talk about legal working permits, but they never once mention that these people showed up to the country unannounced illegally, because we can't even talk about that. And why on earth would this woman think that she wouldn't be able to sell her goods illegally on the subway when she was able to come to the country illegally on foot, apparently? And again, it goes without saying, but they will not be able to break this cycle because they are handed everything on a silver platter. A regular American needs to jump through 16 hoops to rent an outrageously overpriced apartment in New York City. But this woman is, of course, going to be the hero, and the cops doing a walkthrough on the subway platform are going to be the villain if they decide to take her cart. Which I'm not saying is correct, but you started this, right? Don't pretend like you just showed up and everything you did was for the good of society. Because you're only doing this for yourself. You're not an asylum seeker. You were mooching off the backs of taxpayers in America. But thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe.